So this is the real Blair Witch incident. So it's like a movie. So is that movie based on real life incident, I guess?
What's this about? Well, to be honest with you, this isn't really about anything. This is about us.
What? So is the girl alive? He's just pranking the girl or something.
It's a late night. Unassuming. Quiet. The Walton Files blares on your bedroom TV, filling the void of darkness around you. It's peaceful, comfortable even. You scroll through Reddit, searching for something to pass the time. Before, out of nowhere, a lone post by an Emerald Spring populates your feed. They're searching for something, some sort of lost documentary called The Real Blair Witch. There seems to be so little information about this documentary out there and absolutely nowhere to watch it. I recall it being on TV, and there's one or two references to it out there. It has nothing to do with the Blair Witch Project and is more of a true crime documentary. I'd love to see it again, and it's frustrated me for years
So it's a
now
different
not being able to track it
incident?
down. It must be out there in some archive somewhere, but I'm guessing its lack of availability kind of makes it lost. At first glance, this seems relatively unassuming. Yet another lost media mystery with hardly a lead to go on. Yet the name, The Real Blair Witch, shrouds it in this weird tinge of dread. I don't know what it is, but something about the way this is framed, the lack of information, something about this has sparked something. Within their post, Emerald Spring provides a link to its IMDb page, revealing that there's hardly anything to go off of. The page is barren, just one review, a release year, and director. The only tangible bit of info here is the plot summary. A group of teens from Flint, Michigan film themselves and terrorizing a new acquaintance before taking her out to the woods and dumping her in a shallow grave. They then taunt their terrified and blindfolded victim, asking if she had any last requests before they wrote. But was the real or just a game? What's revealed is an extraordinary and disturbing record of a night when something went terribly, terribly wrong. Well,
Yeah, they did not include the throat part
now
in the
you've got my attention.
movie.
With such a graphic, visceral description of such an inhumane crime, curiosity in this case took off on Reddit. Comment after comment poured in, expressing interest in tracking this footage down. Most believed in its existence, others not so much. Regardless, though, the common theme here was intrigue. The Blair Witch Project, back when it came out, was horrifying, and the implications of someone recreating this in real life to torment a very real person sounds like it's straight out of a nightmare. What in the world did Emerald Spring watch back then? What truly is this? Over the following weeks, whispers about the doc's existence would trickle in. Mentions in online articles. A trailer on a production company called Raw TV's own Vimeo page. But what really sent this mystery into the stratosphere was nearly an entire year later when a Redditor named Transbian8787 would chime in with the revelation that no one saw coming. The real Blair Witch, as it turned out, was very real. However, once Pandora's box was opened and the internet began to sink their collective teeth into it, it was realized that this story is much, much stranger than anyone had imagined. The real Blair Witch isn't just a film. It's a glance into one of the eeriest, most bizarre incidents that I have ever read about, ensnaring nearly everyone involved.
Ladies and gentlemen, in the event of an emergency, please walk to the nearest exit. Thank you.
Okay.
When the Blair
Yeah,
Witch
the movie came out in 1999.
Project
Right?
hit theaters in 1999, it didn't just scare audiences, it changed the horror genre. More than just a film, it became a psychological experiment that made people question what was real and what wasn't. The setup was simple. 3 young filmmakers set out to document an old urban legend, only to vanish without a trace. What remained was the footage they left behind. But unlike traditional horror films, this story had no scripted feel, no heart-stopping jump scares, just raw, unfiltered horror. The shaky camera work, improvised dialogue, and eerie silence between panicked breaths all made it feel as if it were set in reality. And that was exactly the point. The movie,
Yeah, I don't really like the shaky camera.
as
I
you'd
mean,
expect, became an overnight sensation, shattering records and opening the door to a completely fresh, realistic, and raw form of terror. However, its impact stretched well beyond the film industry. Suddenly, horror fans, amateur filmmakers, and thrill seekers were heading into abandoned locations and recording eerie footage, and the internet soon became a breeding ground for low-resolution videos claiming to document real paranormal encounters. Some were easily debunked, others less so. And that's where things began to take a strange turn. Because when an entire generation starts to believe that some of the most terrifying things can be caught on a simple high-8 tape, it's only a matter of time before someone tries to prove it. February 2002. It's a frigid night in the town of Flint, Michigan, and a 19-year-old named Danielle Taylor crosses paths with a 20-year-old Travis Peya, a community college student with big dreams of making horror films. Peya shared a house with a man named John Cockrell, another student and self-proclaimed horror fanatic. Their house, it was the spot per se, the hangout for their tight-knit circle, which included a James Carwile, Christina Lum, and Derek Faxlinger. At first, everything seemed mundane within their friend group. Danielle would visit the house a handful of times, and nothing seemed all that out of the ordinary. Just a few weeks later, on the night of March 6th, however, their entire dynamic would, out of nowhere, take a dark turn. By complete surprise, Danielle was restrained, blindfolded, handcuffed, and threatened with,
what?
and all of it filmed on a single high-aim tape.
Surely it's just a joke, right? I mean, even if it is a joke, they went too far, bro.
Say hello.
Hi.
Okay, I have a question for you.
The video opens inside a dimly lit house, bathed in the eerie green glow that can only be provided by an old-school night vision camera. Danielle stands front and center, seeming a bit annoyed that she's being filmed. Behind the camera is Travis Peya, his voice steady as he asks her a strange question. What would you say if you knew this was your last day on Earth? Danielle smirks, brushing off the question with a simple, "There's a heavy undercurrent of something else, though. Something unspoken." A shadow moves behind her. One of the men steps forward, revealing something in his hands. A blindfold, maybe a gag, and the mood shifts. Travis prompts Danielle again, this time instructing
gag?
to say ready, set, go. Sensing something is off, she refuses. Someone's behind her. Something is up here. She turns. Yet before she can react, multiple hands grab at her. She barely has time to respond before she's wrestled to the ground. She fights briefly, but it doesn't take long for her to realize she isn't getting away.
What is going on, bruh?
Whatever this is, it's happening. The scene cuts. We find ourselves in a car. The lighting is bad. Again, night vision. Danielle sits in the back seat, blindfolded, scared out of her mind. She's stiff, her face only showing fear. Christina Lum, the only other woman to appear in the video, is driving. She doesn't say much, just keeps her eyes on the road.
Ada momento.
At first, the guys verbally taunt her, but there's this edge to it. And then we see it. One of them, Jonathan Cockrell, has a knife, and it's pressed right up against her. They start asking her questions. Did you have a good life? Say your last words to your family. If you could go back in time and change anything, would you?
No.
Danielle hesitates. She tells her mom she loves her. She says she's sorry for everything. She tells those in the car with her that she has nothing to say to them. Nothing she says will be right anyway. No one reassures her. No one tells her it's okay. And the video cuts again. Deep in the heart of the forest, the camera follows as James carries Danielle over his shoulder. The group moves with a sense of purpose, heading straight for a spot they've already prepared. A shallow grave, barely 2 or 3 feet deep. They set her down before explaining what's
You're
coming
going to
next.
lay
They're
there.
going to cut her before burying her alive and leaving her. Travis stands over the pit, knife in hand. The blindfold that had been covering Danielle's eyes is pulled down around her neck, and she doesn't say a word. Following this, Travis kneels down, brings the blade right up to her, and then
What? Then
nothing.
what?
He never actually cuts her. He mimes the act of slashing Danielle's throat before she goes completely limp and pretends.
Okay, she's just trolling too.
You're dead. Welcome to the afterlife.
Just like that, the entire mood shifts. The group starts laughing, giving each other pats on the back over what they had just done. One by one, they turn to the camera, introducing themselves, explaining their roles in this so-called film. They even take bows, grinning the entire time.
Yeah, surely it's a movie, right?
Danielle Taylor, as it turned out, wouldn't at night. Contrary to the knife being held to her throat, contrary to her being tied up against her will, contrary to her being thrown haphazardly into a massive hole in the ground, this was nothing but a stunt, a prank for a movie. Funny,
Yep, knew
right?
it.
Halting the recording, the group unties her, harping on just how realistic, how entertaining
And then become the real movie after
the
that.
action was. Surely, this will seem visceral enough to make it to film. This was their big break,
Nah.
their escape from Flint, Michigan, after all. For Danielle, though, she was far from fine. Just a few minutes before, she thought she was dead. She had nothing to laugh about here, because the entire joke was solely on her.
I can't remember his name.
Danielle.
Danielle.
So far, it's been easy to follow Danielle's state of mind throughout this. A woman trapped by those she trusted, a victim of an inhumane prank. However, that's where our central problem begins. Because was this all nothing but a sick joke? That is the question that soon becomes the heart of this entire incident. And the answer depends on who you believe.
It looks like an ordinary day in the USA, but in the city of Flint, Michigan, all is excitement. The older boys and girls are let out of school. Oh, this is a day. The whole town's a bustle. Yes, sirree, there's going to be a parade, too. And what's a parade
Yes,
without
sirree.
festive bunting and gala decorations?
The city of Flint, Michigan is undoubtedly one of desolation. It's a place once bustling, lively, full of opportunity. Yet today, it stands as nothing but a shell of what it once was. When the automotive industry backed away, it left a void of broken dreams, families with shattered aspirations. It's depressing that something like this can actually happen to those who had no hand in the matter at all. Like we established, the Blair Witch Project shattered the world, sending audiences into a frenzy and inspiring loads of those with nothing but a camera to create something horrifying of their very own. The entire group maintains that they all had hopes, dreams to get out of Flint and to make something of themselves. And while they could have chosen a myriad of ways to do that, the film industry, for once in its near century-long history, felt like something attainable, a vehicle to a completely
I mean, the movie was a pioneer, so I don't think anyone can remake that.
In the following days, Danielle Taylor, reeling from the incident on March 6th, would revisit the Peya home. It was done on invitation, a night for all of them to rewatch their masterpiece. Yet for Danielle, she had other plans.
If you scream and you fight, we put a gag in your mouth and throw you in the trunk. If you relax and accept and what's coming to you,
After the tape ran its course, she secretly swiped it, replaced it with another, and after the events of that night had wound down, she set out to report the entire group to law enforcement.
Uh-oh.
Within a week, the lives of Jonathan Cockrell, Travis Peya, Christina Lum, James Carwile, and Derek Vaxlinger, everyone involved in perpetrating this stunt, would change. They were all arrested, finding themselves awaiting trial on kidnapping and assault charges, and facing anywhere from 7 years to life in prison under Michigan law. Contrary to
So I
their
guess she didn't know that.
claims of simply aspiring
She didn't know it was a joke, I guess.
create a horror movie, Danielle Taylor maintained that she had no idea about any of this. To her, this was all very real, and given our glance at the footage, it's easy to empathize with her. Interestingly though, support for her wouldn't be unanimous, as once testimonies came out and the footage was given a second look, cracks in the facade began to show. Danielle, at numerous points throughout the footage, does things that make no sense. She scratches her nose. She inquires on if the rope is tight enough. And just minutes after she supposedly thought she was dying, she can be seen laughing alongside the group.
I survived, and I'm freezing, and my
guess
arms
what?
hurt.
If you move anymore, I swear to God, I'm using a blade to do this. Alright?
A bizarre reaction, especially considering the circumstances. Even still, a Lapeer
I
County
mean, she could still be traumatized and laugh.
prosecutor named Brian Concha spoke to the media on Danielle's behalf, maintaining his belief that she did not know that any of it was staged until the end. The prank was intended by the participants, but the last party, the victim, was not in on it. Conversely, attorneys representing the accused said the tape shows that Danielle, in fact, did know that it was a movie, citing the fact that she never begged the group not to, appeared to smile after the gig was up, and had not once told them to stop. She pretends to for about a minute, one said. If she truly thought she was going to be buried alive, she would have struggled. As we can see,
I mean, depends on the
what we
victim.
have here is a he said, she said situation. No one here ever knew the answer on if she were acting in this stunt. Not the prosecutors, not their lawyers, no one but Danielle Taylor.
So she could play both sides.
In the midst of an intense legal battle, Christina Lum had turned on her group of friends, accepting a plea bargain on a reduced charge of attempted felonious and received a suspended 6-month sentence pending the completion of probation. Derek Faxlinger was ordered to pay a $200 fine. Jimmy Carwile received a 4-month sentence, while Paya and Cockrell got 8 months. All suspended sentences following the completion of probation. All of them inevitably served their time and got out. However, in the end, another affliction entirely would befall them. Travis Paya, the group's ringleader, passed away on Tuesday, April 18th, 2006. Derek Faxlinger passed away on Monday, February 12th, 2007. And Jonathan Cockrell lost his life on Wednesday, February 19th of 2014.
What?
All of them were less than 35 years old.
What happened?
Almost like a curse, 3 of the 4 men involved in the real Blair Witch incident had died before their lives could even get off the ground, and any information surrounding them, barren. All that seemed to exist was hearsay, notably on the website My Death Space, in which Travis Paya's cause was speculated to have been caused by use. Furthermore, mentions of Derek Faxlinger come up in reference to an MLive article, which states that he passed away from an epileptic seizure and had his organs donated to those in need. Even still, though, nothing definitive on whether this came from the fallout of the real Blair Witch
So basically, they all curse.
ever came up. Onlookers then were just as conflicted, just as confused as all of us today. For a while, it seemed like this was the end to the real Blair Witch saga. A lost media legend turned criminal battle that resulted in the loss of 3 lives. However, an entire year after the original Reddit post was made, a user named Beef Brothel emerged out of seemingly nowhere, shedding light on of their supposed friends. Derek, John, and Trav have all passed away. Derek had a seizure in the shower and sadly passed from that. His organs were donated and saved quite a few people. He was an extremely kind person and gave great hugs. Travis had a terrible tooth infection, and I'm not sure if that was the cause, but it was a contributing factor in his... John was depressed.
What? Losing from a tooth?
I can't deny that. His mother died and they were quite close, so his partying ramped up during the period after her passing. Another friend was with him that night. They were celebrating his new apartment, and it was simply an accidental overdose. He was one of my best friends, and I'm still angry at him for being so careless, especially because things were moving in such a positive direction for him. None of this were because of the pressure of the case. Jim and I still talk occasionally, but he moved to another state and lives a private life. He's a good man, and I think he was affected the most by this situation. The girl apologized to them after the fact and insisted that she never wanted any of this to happen. She was known to our graduating class as a notorious exaggerator before any of this ever happened, so there's that. Plus, she was young and was being told by a lot of authority figures that she had to go along with this prosecution. She claimed after the fact that she believed taking the video from the house would prove that it was just a joke and everyone would just get off the hook. She didn't realize that John was pausing the recording between shots. Part of me thinks she initially enjoyed the initial attention, but it spiraled way out of control.
So she knew or something?
If I didn't know,
I
these
had
guys
no idea.
participated in these types of pranks on all of our friends weekly, made a dozen backyard horror films with them, spent all of my free time with them for years. I would think they were psychos too. That's just not the case. Jackass and Blair Witch were huge at this time, so it was kind of a mashup of the two genres to them. We all knew that if you went to Rancho, you could get pranked. It's just how things were. They did almost the exact thing to another friend a week or two before, and she was the one who suggested that they film it next time. Unfortunate. This was a devastating time for our group of friends, their families, and their loved ones. Visiting them in jail was bonkers. I'll never forget how sad they all looked and how many people came to see them. Everyone knew that they did not do this maliciously, except the prosecutor, and he was a real asshole. Long story short, it was a prank, and everyone except the law knew that.
Well, she could have told them and not so.
Say hello.
Hi.
Okay, I have a question for you. You just said hi. But if you had one thing to say, if this was your last day on Earth, what would it be?
The real Blair Witch incident is a bizarre, unsettling chapter in the history of lost media. A story that serves as both a reflection of our deepest fears and a reminder of the human capacity for cruelty. How far would you go for a chance to escape a place in which you have no future? Was Danielle in on things, or was she truly terrified for her life that night? I've always said that lost media, by nature, carries this enduring sense of mystery, and in my opinion, this one is no different. It is, and always will be, eerie, a look into the lives of intensely conflicted individuals. But if there's one thing to take away from all of this, it's that we may likely never, ever get our hands on the full original tape in its entirety. The story of Danielle Taylor will forever live on through the lens of news reports and documentaries. And in its wake, an unsolvable question. Did she truly know? Perhaps we never will. A lost media mystery that
Yes,
may
the
never
mystery.
find a resolution.
Okay. I guess I'll ending there then.